Well, nobody expected this one, huh? It's been over a year since I've touched a Blue Archive song, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just do one. You know, like, it's been a while. I do kind of miss the soundtrack, so it's like, sure, I'll do this one, or two, I suppose, 333 and 332, not in that order, obviously. Also, I apologize for the microphone quality you're probably hearing is a little bit crunchy, because I have to have my air conditioner on in this room. It is the most humid time, literally 100% humidity right now. So I just need to not be dead. So I apologize for the quality loss there, but everything should be fine for the music side. So without further ado, let's go. Okay. All right. It's taken its time to kick in, which I appreciate, actually. I know it's just gonna blast in here at some point. Oh. Yep. They never lost that energy. That's for sure. It's just as kick heavy as I remember it. Switch up on the bass line there. This is a lot more like, I don't know, aggressive is the right term, but oh shit. Woo. Damn. Like, I knew it was a boss theme. I wasn't expecting it to be like the bubblegum poppy sort of happy sound that the rest of their OST tends to have. But, whoo, whoo. I don't know if they're gonna fade out or if it's just gonna end or what. Ah, okay, so they're like the straight up uploads that they had on the old wiki site I used to use. So now it just kind of uploads here. I don't know if this account was uploading back when I used to do these, but these are good uploads. When I was first doing them, I couldn't find any good source that was like consistent with the upload quality and everything. So this is nice. Either they just got better or the songs themselves got more accessible somehow. Oh, how I missed Mitsukiyo's antics. I didn't realize how much I missed the sound of this game, and albeit there are many composers for this game, as I'm sure you all know, but it's like, you just kind of miss people that you remember hearing after a while, and you're like, man, I should go back to that. And that's kind of what led me to choose doing this today, just because it's a sound that I haven't heard in quite a while, and there are still those characteristics that have not left their souls, and I love that about these songs. So this one, mostly sitting on A minor. And obviously a lot of this setup has been upgraded since the last time I did a standalone Blue Archive video, so hey, new stuff, right? A minor, like I said, that's largely where we stick around. We have that and F, kind of the main two chords in this song, and the way that they bounce around with these is kind of fun because we have that A minor that's the root of everything that we're doing in this song. It's where a lot of the electronic stuff tends to sit, and that's something I mention a lot nowadays, is that when there's an electronic song, a lot of the time the composers just sit on one, maybe two chords, and they just bounce between those. For this, I think it's actually A and A minor, and they just kind of fight between those two, and that's pretty common. You know, it's a little little awkward when you hear it separate like this, but within the zeitgeist of the synths and everything that they're utilizing, it just works, you know, like that sort of a half-step slide just ends up working out in that genre. It's mostly just the characteristic of how synths work. And when the song decides it wants to progress and move away from that like A minor relationship, we go up to the F, and that's where that comes into play. And then we have this step down of E flat, D. And like, that's just fun to me because it's just a really simple step down. This is probably one of the easiest things you could do. And then it just loops back down to the root there again at the A minor. So it's just, you know, a simple progression as they tend to do with these songs in Blue Archive. I know that these have to be churned out pretty regularly and pretty often, so it makes sense to just break things down to a more simplified degree. I think they might be doing a D minor in there. I couldn't quite tell with how the song is playing. Like, it could be doing the same thing of... And that would kind of leave it hanging a little bit more because this feels a little bit more defined and like the end of the moment of the song. And I feel like if anything were to be happening between those, like kind of borrowing from the same idea of having the A and A minor fight against each other, they might have done like the D minor first, then the D for the final one, before we just get to that huge, epic, fucking sick drop, and we move back down to just sitting in A minor for basically the rest of the song. So that's what this song does. That's simple. It's an effective breakdown, but it's also, again, kind of the point for these songs. They don't tend to have too much going on, and kind of why I stopped covering them on a regular basis, because as fun as they are to listen to, they don't get nearly as in-depth as some other songs do because they're so short and they are, you know, churned out so regularly and so often that they tend to just be simple. And while that's great and it still sounds really fun, you just kind of lose out on the technical stuff that I can explain on this channel, but that doesn't mean it's not fun to talk about and fun to listen to. So now I have to listen to 333 and see what that has in store. For all I know, that could completely change my opinion. So let's get to that. Okay. Double timing. That tracks. I remember they did this a lot. Double timing for the second parts. I mean, every game does, really. It's either you get faster or you get larger. You're still doing that, like, step down in the chords there, same ones. Really pumpy side chain. But is it gonna surprise me? Ooh. Okay, kinda. Whew. That was a fun little bit. I love that. It's a fun little solo. Arpeggiate the shit out of it. Classic. Ooh. Well, that's how that one ends. It just holds the energy all the way up to the final bit, doesn't it? All right, so there are things I can add at very least. So there's not too much to add for this one. Obviously, like I said, it's just a little bit faster. It does have a little bit more fun to play around with, but that's just because of their utilization of what I'm pretty sure is the A Phrygian major, and that's different because the key would be an A minor. It would be the same as the last song if they're like rooting it into that and trying to make the same song, but you know, an extension of it. They wouldn't change the key in the middle. It wouldn't make any sense. So So having this sort of thing be like A minor moving forward and trying to keep that together, something like an A Phrygian major would be a really easy way to add a little bit more spice for some solos and fills, much like they did for this one, which I think they did something just going up and down the scale basically of like, and just having that in there, like that's... This is the sort of thing, they love to do this with Blue Archive stuff. It's something that they've always done. It's something that they obviously continue to do, and it's a very easy and very effective way to make these sorts of expansions easy and approachable, basically. It's accessible to these keys. It's the same sort of principle that guitarists follow when they're doing solos and such. They tend to just stick to scales. It's a very easy way to do that. You get the hand shapes down, and you can make pretty much anything sound great by following a scale. That's most solos. And this song is definitely no different, having that little flair in there. Just having, you know, something going on to be able to make the song feel a little bit more pleasing instead of just doing literally a copy paste of the last song, but just double timing it and doing nothing else. Obviously, there was no like drop in this one. It just kind of stuck on that energy the whole way through, which makes sense for a boss too, because that drop would probably happen at a moment where like the tides are about to turn, so to speak. And that definitely tracks with the last song, because like the last third of that or so was that drop, and it just carried everything into this, which would carry nicely into the double time, because you already had the drop, you were already in that halftime, and then it starts to ramp back up, and then you're here, then you have to carry this all the way to the end because those stakes are higher, you need to keep that energy at the level, and they do that very well here. Like I mentioned, not too much else to add for this. That is also another reason that, like, while I love Blue Archive music, I did stop covering it, because there just isn't as much evolution as I wish there was in a lot of these songs. As fun as they are for being as simple as they are, they still have their expressiveness to them, and they do feel really fun to hear. But when I get down to doing these sorts of videos on them, I start to struggle on what details to talk about, and it's like, do I just not do them anymore? And that's kind of what happened. So I'll be getting back to doing Blue Archive stuff a little bit more regularly. I'm sure there's more in there, especially like their individual, like larger themes probably have a little bit more to talk about, but these songs end up just kind of being, if I may, kind of rehashes of the same general topics I talk about all the time and always have. If you were to watch this video and then go back to like somewhere in the middle of my old Blue Archive uploads, you'd probably notice that I talk about a lot of the same stuff, and that's because the songs do that. Which again, not a bad thing for the sake of scaling and how they need to get to many of these songs back to back to back, but it does start to get a little bit more draining when you're just talking about these every couple of days, and it's like, okay, I've heard the whole thing at this point. And again, they're fun individually, but talking about them in an analytical way starts to get a little bit harder to do. That's probably why you don't see many people approaching these songs the way I do. So like I mentioned, I will keep doing these songs, but I won't like hold any sort of schedule on them. I'll just get to them whenever I'm feeling it, or if I have an open window in the recording times, sure. You know, like, why not? I do kind of miss their sound overall, so if you have something you want me to get to, drop it in the comments below, so I'll use this video next time when I want to get a new song out for that. And if there's anything new, just throw it on a random comment section. I always see those. Any video, doesn't really matter, so throw those out there if you have one. But I'll digress here. Thank you all so very much for watching, and if you don't want to do any of that stuff and you just maybe want to follow me and support me for other stuff coming in the future, you know how to do all that, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!